Hello everyone and welcome back to Quarter Flips, or welcome to Quarter Flips if you've never been here before. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to talk about Discogs. Specifically, I'm going to talk about getting a record listed on Discogs if you find that a record that you have, or a CD or something, isn't listed on Discogs currently. Now, what I'm specifically going to talk about is when you have an edition of a record that already exists, because most records have already been listed, but sometimes there's strange pressings of things that aren't up on there. So this is an example of one of those situations. This is a record that I put out on my record label. It's the last record I did. It was a band called Gants, and the record is called The Challenge. It's a 7-inch record, single-sided vinyl, with a stencil print of the name of the record on the vinyl on clear so you can see through, and no label. 300 of these made, all numbered on the back, hand constructed. This is a stamp from a big stamp pad to get the color for the, for the title. Gants, it means the glove. This was, it was kind of a joke that got serious. A friend called me up while I was at work one day and said, "We have this idea. We want to put out a record. Do you want to do it?" And I said, yes. And then heard about it. And then there's more to that story, but I believe it was told in one of the podcast episodes I did a long time ago with my friend Greg Bennett. He sang for this. You could go find that if you really wanted to. Anyway, Greg says he has this project with our friend Aaron and Rob, and he wants to know if I'll put it out. Yes. Okay. So I do the 7-inch, 300 copies. When you do a 7-inch or any kind of pressing of any record, the pressing plant will usually say there could be a 10% underrun or there could be a 10% overrun. And in my experience, in many, many years of running a record label, it's usually an overrun because they get to charge a little bit more. And it also makes sense not to underdeliver, especially if a person is doing a numbered version of a record. They don't want to order 300, get the covers ready for 300, and then get 280 or 275 or whatever it would be. So I got an overrun. I got 30 extra copies, 10% exactly. So after I put the 300 together with the red, I had these 30 left over. And I thought, you know what we could do? We could do a different edition. So what I ended up doing was this special edition, same exact thing, but silver ink. Silver ink for the Gants, and silver on the inside for the Challenge. There were only 30 of these, and they didn't get sold the same way these did. They went out to, and even these didn't get sold in a large quantity, but these just went out to a few people. Discogs does not have a listing for the silver version. They only have the red version. So I figure, why not make the silver version listing and show how I do it? So if you run into a situation where you have, say, some record that you want to sell on Discogs and you can't find the exact listing, you can go in and make your own listing, put it under the master listing for that record. So in this case, it'll be Gants, this record, and then this will be basically a second listing attached to this one that will show that there is a variation. So let's go do that now. Okay, so one of the first things I know I'm going to need for this is a photo. It's going to need to have a photo of this version of the record. It differentiates it from the others. So I lay a piece of paper down so it has a white background so I can trim it out. I'll take the actual photos I'm going to use in a minute, but I'll use this camera to show you how I'll do it. I take a photo of the cover, take a photo of the back cover. This is also different than the other release because it has the numbering in silver. See if you can see that. The numbering in silver, and it says of 30 instead of 300. I'll take a photo of the vinyl so people can see what it's all about. Moving on. And now we go to the computer. So once we're on Discogs, you're logged in, assuming that if you're buying and selling on Discogs, then you have an account and you're logged in. So I'm logged in. I'm going to look up the thing that we're trying to figure out here. That's Gants. I do not want to translate this page. I do not know why that popped up. Oh, it popped up because Gants, it's French. Alright, so scroll down, and here we go. Gants, the Challenge. They actually have one for the artist. So here's a release page for the record, and here's for the artist. Let's start by going to the artist. Alright, so here are the folks who made this wonderful record. They only did the one thing. On Excursion Records, released in 2011. Whew, it's been a long time. Excursion 47, all right? 47th release that I put out. Click on the challenge. And here it is. Vinyl 7-inch limited edition clear. Limited to 300 on clear vinyl, single-sided, hand-numbered, one-time pressing, ... Okay, hasn't sold for a lot. This is a really not very known record. It's a lot of fun. I will tell you that the concept of this record is it's a person who's going to duel in the morning, and they are writing letters to their opponent. So, for example, they have songs like, "Having reflected on the matter, I consider your insolence reprehensible." That's the title of a song. That's a proper title of a song. "You are uncouth and therefore offensive." I like it. Okay. So when we click on the images, we see they've got the cover, they've got the back cover, and they've got two versions of the front and back, I guess, of the vinyl, which you don't need to. This is a one-sided record. I personally think the one where you can actually read it is really the only one you need to see. But they only have the red version here, which makes sense. So what I need to do is I need to update this so that it includes the idea that there is a silver vinyl version also. But it needs to be its own listing. Still, I'm going to start here, and here's why. Go to Edit Release. Go over here to Edit Release. When I go to Edit Release, basically I see the people who entered the information. This will show you who put the information in. Go to Edit Release. Now this brings up the master page for the release. And I have no problem with any of the information that people put on here at all. 7-inch, limited edition, I guess you could put numbered. It is numbered. You got the titles, I got everything. But it's down here in the notes. It's down here in the notes. Limited to 300 clear vinyl, single-sided, hand-numbered, one-time pressing. I'm going to change this. Limited to 330 on clear vinyl, single-sided, hand-numbered, one-time pressing. Then I'm going to add 300 red stamp / stencil. And I'm going to add this. In brackets, I'm going to put this. Then I'm going to put 30 silver stamp / stencil. Now, when I update this, the current version of the red stamp stencil is going to get updated with this information. And there will not be a listing for the silver one yet, but we'll get there. I just want to start with this information. Now, I need to put in submission notes. They're red starred. I have to do it. Hit the question mark. It says, submission notes must be used to explain all aspects of your submission, particularly where anything is unusual that might be questioned by other users. Submission notes are required. Okay. I need to explain how it is that I have this further information that I'm using to change this listing. And so I will. Information taken from my own physical copy of the record and personal knowledge from releasing it on my label. That should be unquestionable. We'll go with that. Preview submit. Now, it shows you what the listing is going to look like. So here I've changed it to numbered. And I've added this information, 300 red stamp stencil, this, 30 silver stamp stencil, and then the submission notes, that will not show up in the listing. And then before you submit, test all hyperlinks. So what this does is, if there's anything else that might be this thing that you are listing, you think you're putting in a new listing, it'll often put links here and say, check this before you list it because someone may have already listed it. We're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to say, yeah, this is good, submit. And there it is. So now we are on the actual page for this item, and it is changed. And my submission notes aren't there. They are only for people to see on the back end when they get into the nuts and bolts of this thing. Now we need to add the silver. How do we do that? Well, edit release, copy to draft. Are you sure you would like to copy this to your drafts? Yes. Okay. Edit submit. So now I've got in my drafts, we can see some other ones that I worked on before. Okay. Now because I've decided to edit it, it comes up like a whole new thing. I'm going to upload image, putting the images in. There we go. There's my images now of the silver version. Now, I don't need to change anything in here except down here at the bottom. I'm going to take this little bracketed this that I put for the red stamp stencil version. I'm going to take that out. And I'm going to put it over the 30 silver stamp stencil. And in submission notes, I'm going to say, I think this is the same thing I wrote before, information taken from my physical copy and my own knowledge as the person who released this record. That should be good. Preview submit. All right, that looks right. More images. It shows the images that I put in. Nice. Nice enough anyway for someone to know that this is different from the red version. Scroll down. That's in the right spot. Oh, look, this time we found possible duplicates. We know it is not this one. I'm going to make sure I'm not submitting a duplicate. I could click on it, and it'll bring up here and it'll show me the red one. Yeah, we know that's not this. We're making a silver one. So I click that to show that I am not submitting a duplicate, and then I submit. And there it is. It's in. Okay. See over here? No one has it. No one wants it. It has never sold. There's no ratings. There's nothing on this because it went up just a few seconds ago. But when I go to Gants, haha, now it shows two different versions. What we really want is, since this is the same record, we want this to show that there's two. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Type in something like, oh, botch. Okay, we go to the band Botch, and we see different versions of things that they put out. So let's go to, oh, I don't know, American Nervoso, first record. When you scroll down, you see there's 17 versions of it, different CDs, promos, different colored vinyl, all these different things. And you click on them, and you get different images. Yeah, we want that with Gants. We want this to say the challenge, two versions, and then have this be an additional version once you click on the master. Okay, so on the page right here, essentially, we want to go create master release. And you'll notice that it brings up the thing that has changed. There are these little boxes. So I'm going to click that. Contained releases. Well, it wants to contain that one, and it wants to contain that one. And then I believe this one here is going to be considered the master, and then these are just going to be, this is just going to be another one that is part of that. We'll see if it works. Release notes optional, submission notes optional. No, don't need to do it. I think this is self-evident. Create. Master release saved successfully and will be processed soon. Please refresh the page in a minute to see the updated discography. Let's refresh that page. Come on. Hey, and there it happened. The challenge, two versions. So now when I click on it, it comes up and it shows that there are two. There's the red and there's the silver. Fantastic. Okay, so that's how you do it. So that's that. Gants Silver Edition is now on Discogs properly. If this record had not been on Discogs at all, I would have had to have gone through more steps to add it in as a new release, and that's a little more in depth. If Gants, the artist, hadn't been on Discogs at all, that's a whole nother thing. I've never actually done that, so it would take some research, but I don't expect either one of those things is too difficult. They make it pretty simple in order to have this database that's as usable as it is. Discogs is an incredibly usable database. It's a very valuable marketplace. I suggest using it if you don't already. A friend tried to get me to use Discogs for years, and it was only in the last couple years that I started, and it just paid off immediately. So that's everything. I hope this was helpful. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.